What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country, in Washington, D.C., daily news, money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, stimulus check update, and everything going on here. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button right now. It's completely free to do so you don't miss out on daily news, as well as new videos that come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember those times and make sure to tune in. Also, thanks so much for hitting the like button for us down below. We got a lot to talk about here. Let's jump right in. The White House is wrestling with whether Russia has invaded Ukraine or not, as Russian President Putin has declared parts of Ukraine sovereign territories, independent territories. And I know, as crazy as this sounds here, and then Putin ordered troops into these, quote, independent territories that he declared independent. And these troops he sent in there are called, what he calls them, peacekeeping troops. And yeah, so this is absolutely crazy here. Check this out.
Joining me now is the retired United States Navy Admiral James Stavridis. He is the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander. He's MSNBC's Chief International Security and Diplomacy Analyst. Admiral, thank you for being here. And I know you keep getting asked these questions over and over again, but Vladimir Putin is playing three-dimensional chess here. We were expecting something different, and he has declared these two regions to be independent nations for all intents and purposes, and is moving forward with moving troops into Ukraine. How do you see this?
I see it as an invasion. You know, in addition to being Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, I was, after that, the Dean of the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University, a leading graduate school of international relations and international law. There's a definition for an invasion. It's the imposition of armed troops for political purpose into a sovereign country without the consent of that nation. Whether it's a squad of 12, a squadron of tanks, or an army of 190,000 isn't relevant. This is an invasion. That's what's occurring. We need to deal with it as such, and that means a significant package of response from the West, Ali.
A significant package of response from the West, and that, I assume, means two things. I was talking to Ambassador McFaul earlier, sanctions and diplomacy, and it means something to do with NATO, right? There are all these NATO countries. I'll ask my control room to put the map up of what NATO looks like today. There are a lot of NATO countries right around Ukraine. What are they planning to do?
I think there are three things that the alliance needs to do right now. Number one, you alluded to, is simply stand diplomatically, go as an alliance in front of the United Nations, put the weight of this alliance, 30 nations representing 55% of the world's GDP, 3 million men and women under arms, almost all volunteers, an incredible, powerful alliance. Put the diplomatic weight of that alliance behind Ukraine. Number two, perhaps more importantly, the sanctions package, and it needs to be overwhelming. We need shock and awe economically. That's going to be hard. Putin has spent a lot of time trying to kind of fireproof his economy, but there are mechanisms to take Russia out of the SWIFT system, to go after individual oligarch fortunes, and above all, to go after oil and gas, which is the beating heart of the Russian economy. And number three, Ali, really to the alliance, if Putin is going to fully continue this invasion, expand it, move throughout the country, I think the logical response is going to be a resistance. And you may see the Zelensky government have to leave Kiev and move to the far west, to Lviv in the far west of Ukraine, or even form a government in exile and then run and resistance, much like Charles de Gaulle did in France in the 1940s. We need to facilitate that, arm it, train it, equip it, make this a very difficult move on the part of Putin. So there's diplomacy, there's economics, there's a military response here. All of that can be, I hope, sufficient to deter Putin from further conquest in Ukraine.
So let's put that map up of Ukraine again, because I want to ask you something. There is this theory that these are independent regions with a lot of Russian speakers who require the protection of the Russians. But there's a lot of reporting about the fact that they are looking to take the government out in Kyiv. You were just talking about the fact that they might move Zelensky out and they may have to form a government in exile. How likely do you think that this escalates beyond the eastern parts of Ukraine, which have large Russian-speaking populations, into the rest of Ukraine?
I think it is about a 1 in 3 chance, Ali, from where we sit tonight, that Putin will go full blitzkrieg, shock and awe, take it to Kyiv. 1 in 3. I think it's a 2 in 3 chance that he will take a somewhat more conservative approach and really focus his forces on this region where there are, admittedly, many Russian speakers, ethnic Russians. Vladimir Putin has done an airdrop of passports, handed out hundreds of thousands of Russian passports to Ukrainians who are sympathetic to Russia in this section. So he'll try and build around that. But we need to not be fooled by that, not to be distracted by it. Ukraine has been invaded here. It requires the absolute full force of the response of the West.
You have made that point strongly today. Ambassador McFaul has made the same point, not to fall for some idea that something else has happened here, just because it doesn't look like what you think an invasion looks like from the movies or TV. Ambassador, thanks for your time tonight.
So the former NATO commander says that he thinks that, yes, Ukraine has officially been invaded. Meanwhile, we have a new news that the U.S. and European allies are going to go ahead and enforce new sanctions on Russia today. Here's the news. The U.S. and its European allies are poised to announce harsh new sanctions against Russia today after President Vladimir Putin, Russian president, formally recognized 2 breakaway regions in eastern Ukraine and then sent troops in there. Ukraine military said 2 soldiers were killed and 11 wounded in shelling by pro-Russian separatists in the past 24 hours, the most casualties this year as ceasefire violations were increased. Quote, the U.S. will impose sanctions on Russia for this clear violation of international law and Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, Linda Thomas Greenfield, U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, told reporters after an emergency meeting on the Security Council late on Monday. We can, will, and must stand united in our calls for Russia to withdraw its forces, return to the diplomatic table, and work toward peace. The British governor minister said Russia's invasion of Ukraine was already underway, so Britain would sanction Russia as well. France and Germany also agreed to respond with sanctions. China said it was concerned about the worsening situation and called for all parties to exercise restraint, while Japan said it was ready to join international sanctions on Moscow. Remember, the EU also mentioned sanctions yesterday and said that they would shut off Russia from all oil trade and financial institutions for all the European Union. The Russian United Nations ambassador warned Western powers to, quote, think twice and not worsen the situation. Meanwhile, Ukraine has a growing volunteer army of about 100,000 people made up of elderly, including elderly women and kids, to help with, as you can see here, the preparations. I'm not even going to show the pictures. But yeah, so apparently there's 100,000 people that you could see the headline here that are prepared to go to war from Ukraine because, I mean, they're going to be invaded, so they're expecting the worst. My thoughts and prayers go out to everybody there. Meanwhile, here in the U.S., we're looking stock market futures here before open are yet to be down yet again after another down day. Remember that over 50% of people here in the U.S. do have money in the stock market through retirement funds, 401ks, IRAs, pensions, and just money in the regular market. So we're seeing yet another down market day probably today here. Has multiple different days. But if you're a long-term investor, could be a good time to buy. But if they actually invade, we're probably going to see some more down market days. Of course, this is just predictions because who knows what will actually happen. Predicting the future is exactly that, predicting the future. But we will see. Also, though, this is affecting the price of gas. Remember that Russia is the world's second largest producer of oil. And just the thought of all this happening, which it's a little bit more than thought right now, has sent the price of oil and the price of gasoline up in the U.S. and worldwide. Because if Russia gets shut off from sending out their oil worldwide and their natural gas and everything oil related, it will send the price of oil up and already has. Just the speculation of it already has sent the price of oil and natural gas up, even here in the US. Check this out. You can see here this headline, sticker shocked, Florida gasoline prices hit new high for 2022. You can then see this headline, San Diego sets record for a county's highest gas price in history. Yeah, in history. And you can see here on this picture of this gas price, $4.89 for gas here at this particular gas station here. And yeah, $4.89 for diesel as well. $5.19 for premium. Oh, if you're paying with a credit card, that's the cash price. 10 cents more if you're paying with a credit card. $4.99 a gallon in San Diego, California. On the AAA website, the national average for gas is $3.53 as of today. As of today, you can see here, I have a state-by-state price here. The first, it may be a little bit hard to see here. I'll zoom it in here a little bit. This last kind of column here is diesel, but if you want me to zoom in here, I'll have to cut that off. The first column here is regular. So yeah, these are the prices here for regular, and I'll just kind of say some here, kind of as I go down here, some of the kind of bigger states. You can kind of see them as I scroll by. Arizona, $3.71, California, $4.74, nearing $5. Florida, $3.49, Hawaii, $4.51. Kentucky, $3.22. Massachusetts, $3.54. Just kind of glancing at some of them. You can see them kind of here as I scroll down. North Carolina, $3.42. New Jersey, $3.61. Nevada, $3.95, almost $4. Ohio, $3.33, not bad. Oklahoma, $3.20. Oregon, $3.98, almost $4. Texas, $3.21, looking pretty good there, Texas. They're always kind of cheap there. Tennessee, $3.29, that's pretty good as well. Washington, $3.98, not that good there either. Wyoming, $3.40. West Virginia, $3.32, that's pretty good as well. Yeah, so these are kind of the averages here today. Yeah, they're creeping up, and they have spiked up pretty dramatically here in the last 2 weeks or so because of this Russian conflict. And they could go even higher. In fact, some experts think they could go significantly higher if this whole thing gets worse and we see a full-blown invasion. Yeah. Now, remember, as part of the new stimulus package, the potential Build Back Better package, or the new version of the Build Back Better stimulus package, you can see here this headline here from Forbes. Democrats propose a federal gas tax holiday to combat rising prices. Here's what you need to know. So, potentially, here in this next stimulus package, or even as a standalone bill, we could see this happen where the federal gas tax could be eliminated for the rest of the year potentially. Republicans aren't really for this, ironically, because they realistically they don't want to give a win to the Democrats before the elections. I kind of understand that if I'm looking at their point of view, but it's actually kind of sad that politicians don't want to lower taxes for uh, Americans right now during this time when they could literally just do that with the stroke of a pen, with the stroke of a pen. And it's all about a political agenda, right? Republicans versus Democrats, Democrats versus Republicans. But this is something that really could be passed here in the next few days to few weeks. So this has a lot of support here, almost unanimous support from the Democrats, and the Democrats can pass this on their own through the reconciliation process with the next stimulus package, even if they don't get a single vote from Republicans. Okay. Meanwhile, we're actually getting a lot of Republican support from Senator Mitt Romney and some other Republicans as well. As you can see here, Senator Mitt Romney's push to revive the child tax credits. He just came out here yesterday speaking on this. Um, his hinges on a work requirement. What's interesting here is a lot of people believe in this, some people don't. I don't know if we did a poll here, it might be 50-50. I don't know what it would be. Mitt Romney says, the Republican senator said several Democrats have, quote, expressed interest and spoken with him about his proposal, which includes key differences from the previous tax credit. You can see here, over the past few months, Senator Mitt Romney, Republican from Utah, has quietly pushed for a Republican-friendly version of the expanded child tax credit that he hopes could gain bipartisan support. I have to actually applaud him here, even though he has a little bit of differences between him and the Democrats. He's pushing for I mean, we've had millions of children, based on studies by independent universities, say that children have fallen back into childhood poverty. And he's one of the few Republicans stepping up to make a difference. I got to lend my hat to him, and, good job to him for coming out and trying to make a difference. I mean, imagine starving children out there literally being confirmed by independent universities saying that this is happening right now because these child tax credits have been they haven't gone out in January and February. So this is what we need to see. We need to see Republicans and Democrats working together, whether it's for child tax credits, whether it's for a raise to Social Security and for people on Social Security, disability, or it's for low income and people living in poverty. Whatever it's for, people in need, we need to see more of this. We need to see Republicans and Democrats working together, not Democrats on one side of the room and Republicans on another side of the room, and there it's like a middle school dance where the girls are on one side of the room and the boys are on another side of the room, and they're all just kind of looking at each other for the whole night and not helping not even associating with one another. Because honestly, that's how a lot of it's been, right? Ever since the Democrats took control, the Republicans vote no on a lot of things. And they've made headline news here with the Fed meeting and the Fed appointing a new Fed president, a new Fed head, which is really going to just be probably Jerome Powell, or it's going to be Jerome Powell again. And he's actually a Republican. He was appointed by former President Donald Trump. He's a Republican. And the Republicans didn't even show up and he's one of their own. So they didn't even show up to vote for him. So they made a lot of headline news there. I showed a little bit of it on our channel. And so, I mean, now in all fairness, the Democrats did a lot of this themselves as well when Republicans were in control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency back in 2017, 2018. And honestly, it needs to stop. When one party is in control, like it happens to be right now, we can't just have the other party vote no on everything or not even vote at all because nothing gets done. Now, granted, we got the third stimulus package done with the child tax credits, the $1,400 stimulus checks, and rent assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance. A lot was done in that third stimulus check package underneath Biden that the Democrats passed on their own through the reconciliation process. And we could see another big package here pass through the reconciliation process as well. But we still need the two parties to vote together. We can't just have one party always voting no on everything because they're scared about, handing a win to the other party. If that's the case, and history always goes that way, our country will never get anything done. You'll get one bill done a year, right? Something needs to change, right? There has to be some type of change. Mitt Romney says his proposal would bring back the direct monthly payments many parents used for 6 months last year to cover the cost of food, clothing, and childcare before Congress let that tax credit expire, those monthly checks. But Romney's form of extra monthly payments would add stringent work requirements, slash programs that aid vulnerable Americans, and make significant changes to the tax code. See, this is where negotiation come in, and Democrats and Republicans have different opinions on things. While the additional work requirements and the reduced safety net programs could be tough pills for Democrats to swallow, even before they consider the sticky issue of tax reform, a bipartisan bill may be the only way for the expanded child tax credit to land on President Joe Biden's desk, largely because of Joe Manchin. If Joe Manchin would have just said yes, this would have all been signed, sealed, and delivered, and they would have been on to the next bill by now. Romney has largely worked with fellow Republicans on his plan, but conservatives with Democrats have increased in the last month or so. A senior GOP aide familiar with the proposal said, "I think momentum is growing quite a bit, and there's more interest because folks on the right, Republicans, want to do something. I think folks on the left, Democrats, are realizing if they don't do it bipartisan, it might not happen." It's unclear which Democrats might be receptive to Romney's pitch. They don't need all of them if they get some Republicans and some Democrats. He said Thursday there's several Democrats who have expressed interest and have spoken with me, but he declined to name who. Senator Michael Bennet, Democrat from Colorado, has been involved with Democrats' efforts to secure an extension of the child tax credits. He said he's open to advancing the policy as a standalone bill, including working with Republicans to pass it. Thus far, he has expressed opposition to cutting social programs and adamantly opposes adding work requirements. As I've said in the past, work requirements don't work, as study after study has shown. We shouldn't punish children simply because their families are struggling to find work, particularly during a pandemic. The tax credit debate hasn't made great strides on the Democratic side because of Joe Manchin, a key Democrat, remains opposed to reviving the previous policy. Meanwhile, the child poverty rate rose from 12% in December to 17% in January, meaning that 3.7 million children were plunged back into poverty after the monthly payments expired, according to a Columbia University study. So 3.7 million children have now gone back into poverty in just 1 month alone. What's interesting is in Mitt Romney's proposal, it would actually pay monthly checks of up to $350 per child and make it fully available for individuals making up to $200,000 per year or couples making up to $400,000 per year. His original tax credit proposal didn't include work requirements, but Romney said he's adding them to satisfy senators on both sides of the aisles, mainly Republicans and maybe Joe Manchin. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I will keep you up to date with everything going on here in our country. Make sure to click the subscribe button down below if you haven't yet, so you don't miss out on new videos. It's completely free to do so. And we're at 399,000 subscribers, so help us reach 400,000 subscribers. Like I said, it's completely free to do so, and it makes it so you won't miss out on new videos as much, and the YouTube algorithm will actually recommend you our videos so you can watch them again when the new ones come out. Better yet, after subscribing, click the bell icon so you get reminders when we go live with new videos. You can click here to watch my newest video next, and you can click here to see my new video on with SNAP benefits, pandemic EBT benefits that new money is coming out with, and also Social Security raises. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.